Man, I couldn't be happier with these seats. There's no lettering on them to say that they're from Ford. Nice black color. It'll match the car. This is where the rear seat bolts down to, the sheet metal off the S550 Mustang, and look how close it is to fitting. I mean, it's almost perfect as far as the width goes. I'm just gonna bend this up and it should drop down more and then sit flat on the floor. Most likely we'll have to kind of notch it to, you know, match that profile, and then we can move it wherever we need to. Alright, so I just threw the seat in here real quick, just out of curiosity how close it is, and it needs to come over a little bit. It's touching, you can see right there. So I'm gonna move it over 1 inch. So we're gonna move these holes right here, and this hole will get drilled through here, which is no big deal because where it gets bolted down is right here. This is just with a peg that's on the chair that goes through, just kind of as like a locator. Same with this one too. So we're gonna move this one over 1 inch and that one over 1 inch, so it'll go in these two holes instead of those two holes. And I actually think I might slot them too, and see where everything fits or lines up at that point. I'm trying to decide if I want to cut this area out so that way I can get it to match the floor. Same with this too. This hump we can cut into the sheet metal so it matches. So, but for now I'm just gonna drill out these holes and get it located. Alright, so I moved the holes over 1 inch, but I'm hitting this piece right here, so we're gonna go ahead and trim the edge of this. Alright, so I got it modified. It's bolted down right now. Let's go ahead and throw it in the car, see if it fits. So I moved it 1 inch, and I think I'm good with that. It's about where it was before, where I at least threw it in there and wanted it. It's close here, but I mean, it was in the original Mustang. I mean, that's not that bad. It's just a little bit close right here, and I feel like that's gonna rub no matter what anyways. Plenty of room there. So I kind of like the height where it's at. And this center console is going to come up a little bit, actually, now I think about it. So this is going to come up some, I think about right there. So, I mean, that gives us a little bit more room, too. Arm feels nice and comfortable right here. This is head level, right at my eyes. So, I mean, it's like perfectly right in the middle of the windshield. I got some brackets for the front coming too, and then also the front and rear for the passenger side. I think I might wait until I get the front and see if I get lucky on that too. See how it lines up with the front. And then obviously I'll probably have to move that over 1 inch also. I got this cut down as much as I can to get it as close as I can to the floor. I have some braces right here because I had to cut quite a bit out just because this slopes down. If it was flat like it is, you know, pretty much on the rest of the floor, then I wouldn't have had to do that. But it does, so I cut it out. Also cut out right here just because this slopes up and it was hitting. So now I got pieces of sheet metal that I cut out to match this. This is going to go underneath to kind of fill the gap. It's just thick enough to where it's like pretty much perfect. This will get pushed down. I'll weld that to this, and then this will get welded to the floor. This weld nut on the backside just barely has enough room, so I got to keep in mind for that. I was going to move this back further, and I did hammer in this section. This was kind of bulging up. Hammered it down, and then you know, I want to try to get it as close as I can to this mark right here, this little blue mark. So that means that that'll be as far as the seat can go, and it's almost barely touching this. If the seat was reclined, it would touch, but I'm trying to make it so it's vertical as far back as it can go, without touching this. Alright, so I took this piece from the driver's side and threw it over here. This is the same on both sides. They have the same exact part number. They're just flipped around. They're exactly the same on the left and right side. The hole spacing will follow. So now I am going to make the support pieces for this side and use this as a template until we get the new piece, because I only have one, just to make sure that this would fit before I ordered two. So when the new one comes, I'll have pieces like this ready to go to get welded in. Alright, let's make another one. Alright, so I got this pretty close. Everything is dropped down in place, touching the floor here, touching it here. There is a gap right here. I might add some filler metal just to fill this, just the gap from here to here where it drops down on the floor. Right here, I think I might drop like a double L bracket. So we'll have sheet metal under here and it'll go down, and then another L coming off to the floor, just so I have something to weld onto. It's dropped here. There is a gap right here. There's not much I can do about that. I think I'm gonna leave it alone. I actually might end up running some wires under here. It'll get welded here, and this will get hammered to fit the floor. And then I'm probably gonna leave this area alone. I actually think I might cut out a little bit, just so I have access to this if I ever need to repair that. And then I was thinking about making some brackets off of this, and then, you know, going up or down or around it somehow. So I think I might cut a piece out here, and then I'll make this bracket, drill out the holes, make a bracket off of this, and yeah. So we'll probably do one bracket down, one bracket right up here, another one up here, and then another one up there. Then this will get welded. Get welded here, welded there. Okay, I'm gonna modify these brackets a little bit more, these front brackets. I want more leg room in the front, so we're actually gonna drop this from 3 inches to 1 3/4 inches. So we got 1 1/4 inch drop. We are going to cut them off right here. I got this etched out or scribed here. Do the same, and then we're just gonna fold it up to this line. And then we'll do the same for this side too. Okay, I'm really happy with how this fits. After I modified it and dropped it 1.25 inches, it looks good. I like it. So I'm gonna move on. For some reason, Ford didn't think we needed some threaded holes, so I'm gonna take this tap. We're gonna put some 10mm by 1.5 threads inside them. Here's the before and after. This is the modified and unmodified. So we chopped this completely off. This was sticking way past. It didn't match up with the width of the floor. Then all these corners were chopped off on both sides except right here. And then I can't remember how far I went up. I want to say it was just 1.25 inches. That's how much we dropped it on this, but I'm not sure if that was the actual measurement that I used from that corner up. I'll have to double check. Then after that was all cut up, then we just folded it to bring it down further. We cut this to give clearance for the floor, and then on this side it'll be this corner that'll be missing. Seats are in. I have them laid out where I want them. Brackets are in, front and rear. Both sides are dropped for the front bracket. Drop them 1.25 inches. Same with this side. Everything's ready to go. This is where the seats are going to be at. I like where they are. I can't go back any further unless I were to make some serious modifications on the rear bracket. And by doing that, I would have to cut the flange off and move it back even further. And then, I don't know, add another flange, somehow weld it to the floor. But we're really close to here anyways. But in all honesty, though, the seat is all the way back on the rails that they sit on. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to run it all the way back to where somebody could get in here and then just force the seat into this rear panel. Plus, we have some covering that's going to go here too that's going to fill up some space. So, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it. I would like to have a little bit more room, but this car is just a small car. I can only work with what I got unless I want to really go crazy and chop this and extend it, which I don't. So, we're going to mark the brackets where they are. We're going to try to place them both the same on each side. And I think I might get a piece of like flat stock and connect the front and rear brackets. I'll just measure where they're at on the brackets of the seats. And then what's going to get welded to the floor panel, have 2 pieces of flat stock on both sides to keep the alignment of the seat. So that way I can weld them in place. I can do whatever I need to do and still be able to keep that distance and not have to potentially damage my seat by welding near it or cutting near it or anything like that. I could just get the brackets where they need to be, attach them together, take the seats out, and do all the work without the seat in. So yeah, now I'm gonna figure out where they need to go, and then probably just gonna take the seats out, and we'll start working on getting the brackets welded onto the floor. It sucks because I had the floor painted underneath, and when I go to weld that, it's going to eat that paint. It's not going to look as good. You're going to see those marks where it got really hot, and I'm going to have to repaint it. But it is what it is. Not much I could do about it. I got this where I want. It is a little bit lifted off the floor in some areas, and I think it's just because of how the floor is laid out, and there's some areas that are thicker and, you know, thinner. It almost seems like this panel needs to be spread out a little bit, but I'm not going to do that. I think I can force this down enough to get it close to the floor, and I know I can in some spots. The other side, like this for example, is touching the floor right now all the way up, but this side is a little bit lifted in the back here just because this flange here is a little bit higher. So I'm just going to force this down as close as I can get it. But for now, we are going to scribe every little spot that needs to be welded so we know where to grind the bare metal. And then we will tack weld it in place. We'll do one spot, I don't know, probably over here. Just put a little tack on the side and maybe one up here. And then we'll go to the front, do the same thing, put the seat in, make sure the seat fits, and then we can permanently weld it in place, do all the plug welds. Okay, so I have a bunch of brackets made up. We're gonna use these to kind of attach the spots I had to cut out that didn't match the car properly. So we got one right here, two on the sides, we got one on the side up here. This I had to cut a bunch out of just to get this to move over and then match the tunnel. So there's a big slit and it's kind of lifted up. We're gonna weld it in how it is, and then we're gonna put a plate over top of it just to make things easier. I got one that's going to come from here to this plate that I use for the transmission cross member. It's a nice strong spot. And then I have one more bracket up in the front here. So what I'm going to do now is this little alignment brace that I have, I'm going to take it off, double check and make sure everything lines back up. I got this welded in place where I for sure want it. And then everything has to match up based off of this to the front. So we're going to loosen it up, align it. And then when I'm satisfied with it, I'm gonna tighten everything back down, weld it in one spot, and then we're gonna put the seat in place. Well, I'll probably weld it in a couple spots just to make sure it doesn't move. But then we're gonna put the seat in, make sure the seat lines up, and then we're gonna weld everything in place. And I should be able to take this cross member alignment piece, this brace, whatever you wanna call it, to the passenger side and do the exact same thing. So just checking some measurements on the seat. We're gonna check inside there to the edge of where this headrest goes. All right, move this down. And it's exactly the same. Maybe a little bit off, maybe a 1/16 off. So I'm happy with that. That's where it's gonna stay. All right. We're gonna weld this in about 10 seconds. You ready? And done. Seats are finally in. Happy with how they turned out. Permanently installed. They're not going anywhere. So we're done with this. I think the next thing I'm going to work on is the brake pedal and gas pedal. I already have the brake pedal done. As far as I'm aware, I don't think I'm going to move it from there. And then the gas pedal I'm still working on. But we're very close to getting that done too.